My dearest Kimberly, my heart aches to be away from you again. Once more I'm forced to pick up my sword and fight for my country. At least this time, our cause is more noble than Mexico. However, I must also admit, fighting on a battlefield is much easier than fighting in the halls of politics. I do question what we are fighting for, though. Is it the preservation of the Union? The emancipation of the colored race? Or something else? President Lincoln seems to have made it very clear that this war is for the restoration of our republic, yet I cannot but hope something greater may come of it. The spirits of the men and officers Governor Morton assigned to me are good, though the colonel's insignia weighs heavily on my shoulders. These summer boys think they are going on some grand adventure. I know some of the officers that have joined the rebels. This will not be a short war. Nevertheless, we drill every day, marching in the morning, shooting in the evening. In the afternoon, I lunch with the regimental officers. The election of officers is frustrating. While some seem eager to learn the ways of war, many others are just in it for the prestige of their rank. I've already had one officer removed for drunkenness. Alas, it appears our training will end soon, though I fear that the boys are not yet ready. We've been marching towards Virginia. Our orders are to join General McClellan in Ohio, and then, God only knows what awaits. Think of me often, my love. Yours, Henry Frederickson. Hello, and welcome back to History in Focus, your one-stop shop for the stuff they didn't teach you in school. So, as you can see today, this is not my normal style of video. I'm deciding to kind of try something a little different while I continue to work on the German Unification series, and that is a little bit of gaming. So I've been gaming for a long time, love strategy games, especially historical titles. I think my first big strategy game was probably Star Wars Empire at War all the way back in 2006, 2005, I don't remember. But I figured I'd try something different, and if you guys like it, hey, I'll continue to make more of it. If you don't, well, this was worth trying out and just kind of seeing what happened. So, anyways, without further ado, we'll be playing Ultimate General Civil War. Those of you who've watched my channel before know that I used this game in my 19th Indiana documentary, which was my thesis project at university. So thank you so much to Game Labs for allowing me to use that footage for that project several years ago. I love Game Labs' work, especially their Ultimate Blank series. Most of all their titles really have been really good, building on each other. Really excited to play Ultimate General American Revolution when it comes out, I think, later this year. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, well, Lincoln.
Itself cannot stand. This government cannot endure permanently. Half slave and half free.
I rise, Mr. President, for the purpose of announcing to the Senate that I have satisfactory evidence that the state of Mississippi, by a solemn ordinance of her people in convention assembled, has declared her separation from the United States.
So, yeah, that was President Lincoln's famous "A House Divided itself against itself cannot stand" speech given, I believe, in 1858. And then that was more than likely, I believe, Jefferson Davis, senator from Missouri at the time, or not Missouri, Mississippi, at the time of the state's secession. Jeff Davis also being a Secretary of War, as well as a veteran of the Mexican-American War and a West Point grad. So, to create our character, first we get to pick our West Point background. We can either be a tactician, a strategist, or a logistician. It's been a minute since I played this game, but if I remember correctly, reconnaissance doesn't add a whole lot to our battles. It just provides a little bit more numbers information and maybe some additional map data, but even then I don't think it's much at all. Strategist, it allows us to recruit veterans at a lower cost, which is always welcome, especially as casualties mount. and then logistics, which allows us to have more ammo at the start of the battle. I think training is going to be more important. Being able to recruit veterans at a cheaper level is always good. Then we get to choose between artillery, infantry, and cavalry. Again, I'm not really sure why this wasn't the first pick, because when you graduated from West Point, you were assigned a branch of the Army. One of these three, as well as the Engineering Corps, which was considered, I believe, to be the most prestigious corps, the most prestigious branch of the Army at the time. Now, we don't have the choice to be an engineer here, so we're going to choose between one of these three. Again, I don't really see the point in additional reconnaissance at the start. We can always add that in later. More training is good, but really what I think is most important here is the medicine, because it reduces the number of casualties in battle, or at least the ones that are killed. Casualties being for killed, wounded, and missing, or captured. So we're going to go with artillery. Lastly, after the Mexican-American War, what do we choose to do as our career? So after the war, a lot of Army officers chose to actually leave the Army, either very soon after the Mexican-American War or a few years afterwards. McClellan went on to become the president, or maybe just the engineer, not a locomotive engineer, but a land engineer for a railroad company. Robert E. Lee chose to stay in the Army. Burnside went in to found his own arms company. A lot of Civil War a lot of Mexican War officers went into politics to some extent or another. But the big thing, I think, for business, the big advantage business has over these other two is the +3 to economy, which reduces... or no, I'm sorry, not business, politics. It's the +3 to politics, because you get more gold, and you get more... you have a bigger manpower pool of recruits between battles to bolster your brigades. So we're going to go with politics. I'm from Indiana. Obviously, I did the 19th Indiana documentary, so we're going to stick with the Union. Colonel is way too easy. Don't really have any interest in that. Major General. I'm not a big fan of games giving AIs cheats. I'd rather the AI just get more intelligent and be smarter. This game's already got a pretty strong AI, so I don't really think this is necessary. So I think we're going to go stick with Brigadier General. Choosing our names. So history and focus, IHIF. So how about Henry Frederickson, if we can fit that. Frederick works. How about just Henry? Let's just go with Henry Frederick, if we can fit the S-O-N in here. S-O-N. Henry Frederickson. That works. So, we're going to start. I believe the first battle is the Battle of Philippi. So we have to capture this small town and its railroad station. We know that there's an armored train that's going to be coming along these tracks. They say they think there's 3,000 soldiers. I don't remember the exact numbers here. And we're given a small force at the start. So, a little bit of history while we kind of set things up. The Battle of Philippi is actually a historical battle. It's considered to be one of the first engagements of the Civil War. It's very small, especially, when you get into, like, Gettysburg numbers. So, yeah. This was McClellan. This was in West Virginia. This is McClellan. I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the battlefield at this time, but he did give the order for the units that did engage at Philippi, including, I believe, a few Indiana regiments and maybe even a brigade of Indiana volunteers. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. So our basic strategy here, we know there's skirmishers up in this hill area. There's one that's going to be like right around here, one that's going to be up here, if I remember correctly. And there's also one in this woods. So what we want to do is we want to flush these guys out of the woods. Ideally, we want to rout the skirmishing unit here before they can get back in there, because if they can get up here into these farms, they're going to be a lot more difficult to handle. And then we want to push these skirmishers off and kind of run them into our reinforcements and destroy everything before we get into this town. So we've got Schaefer. Yep, we got Schaefer going up the hill with his skirmishers, and then we've got Zook has detached a group of skirmishers as well. And then we have Stockton and his skirmishers going up to the right, as well as Zook's brigade to support. So let's go ahead and go. One thing I really have always appreciated about this game is just simply the detail of the terrain. You can very clearly tell where there's elevation changes, and it's really something that I think a lot of other games can struggle with is making it obvious where elevation is, and so it makes it really nice and easy to place artillery, which is so critical in these kind of battlefield strategy games. So, a little surprised we haven't seen the skirmishers yet, but they're there. Yep, there's Burns, or Byrnes, I'm not sure how you pronounce that last name. But we're going to go ahead and engage. Oh, and there's Hexamer. Is he going to kite? He might just kite away. We'll see here what he does. Oh. He might charge. Burns is routing, or at least they're falling back, which is good. We're going to keep the pressure on that flank. Zook, we're going to catch Hexamer in his flank. Now we're going to engage Sin, or Still. How do you... Silly? I don't know. Yeah, Hexamer is going to keep putting his guys in enfilade here, so we're going to catch him in... We're not quite getting a flanking bonus, so we'll try to maneuver just a little bit more to get the flanking bonus. Zook's skirmishers have now caught Burns. So far, things are progressing about as well as I could hope. Casualties are pretty light, but we've taken about 2% casualties, so that's good. Might just charge Hexamer at this point if he's going to hold his flank. If he's going to let us kind of get on his flank here, but that should give us the flanking bonus. Maybe not. Alright, well, regardless, we're going to put Zook... we're going to send Zook down the road. The enemy skirmishers are falling back off the hill, which is good. We're going to secure the edge of the hill. Ooh. Yep, and so there is another brigade, McHenry, sitting in the town. We're going to wait for reinforcements before we push them off. It's always interested me that this game really, the AI really likes to charge. And I know that's historically accurate, especially early on in the Civil War. A lot of generals, both regular army officers as well as new volunteer officers, fought with a more Napoleonic-style tactic of firing a couple volleys and then advancing, and then charging with a bayonet. And it makes sense why those tactics would not have continued to evolve, because there wasn't a major European conflict besides the Crimean War between the end of the Napoleonic Wars in 1861 or 1860. So, anyways, our reinforcements have arrived. First, we get cavalry under, I believe that is a lieutenant colonel or major with Sharp's carbines. So we're gonna have Bristow swing wide and try to catch these skirmishers in their back. Hexamer is still harassing a little bit, so we're going to continue to push. There's going to be more infantry coming down that road that are ours, as well as a couple of artillery batteries. Yeah, so here comes Loomis. We're going to just go ahead and bring this infantry up to this hill here, as well as the artillery as soon as I can get him off that edge of the screen. Yeah, so the skirmishers are doing what they're supposed to for the enemy. They're delaying us, making it difficult to advance. Want to force us to bring our troops into line early, so that way it takes longer to move up onto the objective. Makes perfect sense strategically. It doesn't look like... Yeah, we're not going to be able to catch those skirmishers, but we should be able to get Heximer as long as we keep him pinned. So we're going to go ahead and move Zook down the road. We're going to put this artillery... We're going to put this artillery up here because I know that there is rebels sitting behind this fortifications here. Yeah, here comes Bristow. We're going to come right into the back door of Heximer's skirmishers and probably capture or rout them entirely. Yeah, he sees the skirmishers now. He's trying to react to that, but it should be too little, too late. And again, you know, the cavalry is maybe a little bit stronger for its more Napoleonic purpose in this game versus, say, like Grand Tactician, and that's mostly because your battlefield maps are a little smaller. You're playing on more historical battlefields, so you already know kind of, especially if you're a Civil War historian or you know the Civil War well, you kind of already know what the battlefield will look like. So the idea of cavalry as reconnaissance in this game isn't as powerful. Where they really lend themselves well is their ability to kind of, it's a bit of rock, paper, scissors. Cavalry beats skirmishers, delay everybody. Infantry beats cavalry, and then artillery beats infantry. Yeah, so the skirmishers are routing. Excellent. We're going to bring the cavalry back up. I don't know if I should put them up here too. No, you know, I think we're going to just bring them down here. Stockton, we're going to put him in this cornfield here. We're going to bring the other skirmishers. We're going to reattach Zook's skirmishers. We're going to bring Schaefer here. We're going to continue to push Walton. Ooh, that was a little bit closer than I expected them to be able to shoot. Or a little farther, I mean. We're going to bring Walton and Loomis up into those woods. We're going to put the artillery right there. We're going to bring Zook up a little bit because when McHenry retreats or pulls out, we want to be able to bring this infantry unit in immediately, and we want to try to catch McHenry out of fortifications. So there we can see Law's brigade is sitting over here. And really, these aren't even brigade-sized. Brigades are generally, they're made up of a couple of regiments, each regiment with about 1,000 men. So a brigade will be about anywhere from 2 to 4, usually, regiments makes up a brigade. I think the average number is about 3, so you've got about 3,000 men in a brigade at maximum strength. Now, again, not really the case in the Civil War at all. A lot of brigades are under strength for whatever reason, whether that's sickness or casualties. You just rarely ever will see a brigade at full strength in any battle. And also a lot of brigades will also have auxiliaries that make up that number that are not actively fighting. They're either stretcher bearers or messengers or other attendees to the brigade. So we've got, right here, we've got Root. I don't know if we're in canister range, but I think we are. Considering the casualties we just dumped on him there, I think we're probably in canister range. So what we want to do here is we want to pound Root out of his position. We don't want to have to send in our infantry at all. We just kind of want to force him to withdraw with minimal involvement from our infantry. So when they cross that bridge, they can just get across that bridge really quickly, secure a bridgehead, and then push into the town. What I am going to do is I'm going to detach skirmishers from Loomis, so maybe we can see what's waiting for us behind those that brigade of infantry. So McHenry is leaving cover. I don't know if he's coming after our artillery. He can't as far as I'm aware, they're concealed, so I would imagine they're going to come after Zook. Or Zook. It might be Zook, but that doesn't sound right. But since he does have his men out of cover, I'm surprised they have the range. What are they armed with? Springfield Model 1842s. Interesting. So the Springfield Model 1842, I'm not a weapons expert, but it was the primary musket that was issued to most of the men at the start of the Civil War. I believe it was also the primary firearm in the Mexican-American War, so this is already a 20-year-old service rifle. Not super accurate at range. I believe it's not even rifled. It might have been converted to percussion cap before the start of the war, but again, not 100% sure on that. I believe it was percussion capped. If somebody in the comments can confirm that to me. But yeah, a lot. The musket was very quickly phased out or rifled by both sides in favor of the Springfield Model 1861s, as well as I think there's a Springfield model that comes in between them. I think the 1858, not really 100% sure on that, as well as the Enfield rifle from Britain and the Lorenz musket from Austria. So interestingly, McHenry has chosen to charge into our skirmishers. That's a big mistake on his part, as the skirmishers are just going to retreat from that position, and now we've got McHenry out in the flank and in the open. So we're just going to go ahead and take the town. There goes Root. So with Root retreating, we're going to cross the bridge with Walton's brigade and establish a bridgehead, and then bring Loomis's brigade in to support. We're also going to go ahead and bring up our artillery, so that way we can continue to hit them with grape shot. The artillery's done fantastic, almost 120 casualties between the two of them. McHenry is totally withdrawing, so we're going to follow up and charge him, try to see if we can't force him to surrender or break. Root is going to attempt to resecure his position. Ooh, Burns actually chose to sit at the bridge. That was unexpected, but okay. Root is now back in cover. Yeah, so Bristow is continuing to chase McHenry. They're out of the battle at this point. It'll take them forever to come back in. Yep, McHenry surrendered. So when troops would surrender in this game, you can march them out of the map. They can be recaptured, so we've got to make sure, not that it'll happen this game, but we've just got to make sure that another enemy unit doesn't touch them, and they can come back in as a combatant. But again, that's not likely to happen. Law is routing. Now that is interesting. A little surprised there he's routing, but that's good for us. So we're going to head and cross the bridge at the double quick. We're going to go ahead and bring Walton across the bridge at the double quick as well. We're going to put Loomis up a little farther, and we're also going to bring the artillery down into the middle where they have a better chance of putting grape shot or canister fire into the rebels. Also going to bring up our ammo wagon while we're kind of letting troops maneuver into position here. Nope, didn't want to do that. So these two artillery batteries are armed. One is armed with a 10-pound ordnance rifle, which I think is, unless I don't remember if the Parrot gun is called just the 10-pound ordnance rifle or not. But or if this is supposed to be the 3-inch ordnance rifle. Both very common Union artillery pieces. Both known very much for their excellent accuracy as well as rate of fire. The 3-inch ordnance rifle, I believe, being the second or maybe the most widely used artillery piece of the war besides the Napoleon gun. The 6-pound rifle, the 6-pound field gun, is an antiquated cannon at this point. It's a leftover from the Mexican-American War. Very quickly gets phased out as well with the arrival of rifled cannon. We're just going to continue to push the town here a little bit. Woods is routing. I wonder if the skirmishers opened fire on them. We've also forced their Davies artillery here to withdraw, so excellent. I'm going to see if we can't catch Law in the back here and get a flanking bonus. Send Schaefer to clear out those skirmishers. Yep, there they go. So now we can try to melee route them. Maybe force them to surrender as well. We're going to reattach Loomis's skirmishers. No, continue to chase if you can. Pooh. Oh well. Oh, we got their skirmishers in Sill. Excellent. Love to see that. Get off the battlefield. So yeah, overall, very successful opening of this battle. Did we get... Are those the... Is that the artillery crew that's routing? I guess we can find out. Otherwise, we're going to use Bristow to get Root, clear him out. Maybe charge him in the flank here. That might get him to surrender, honestly. One thing that's also kind of funny about this game is the fact, and it's a cheesy strategy, is that when units go into melee, units behind them can still fire into the melee, which, you know, I mean, in real life they could do that, but you're also going to probably maul your own men as much as you're going to maul the enemy in that sort of scenario. But friendly fire I don't really think is a thing in this game, so, you know, we're just going to be able to destroy the enemy while our guys kind of pin them down in melee. But yeah, this is over. This is done. We're just gonna kind of wait now for the timer to run out, or the game to determine that we have in fact achieved our objectives. Here comes Law. Yeah, here comes the counterattack. The town is secured, but the rebels are determined to retake it. We have prepared some entrenchments to stop their assault. Yeah. They're going to come down. They're going to come down this road and this road. They're also going to come down this road as well as an armored train. And then we have our own reinforcements that are incoming. So, here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm thinking. We're going to bring Bristow and his cavalry. We're going to try to go up and hide in these woods if we can. We're going to detach skirmishers from each of our brigades. We're going to send Walton's skirmishers up into this wheat field. We're going to send Loomis's skirmishers up into that, I don't know what you'd call it, a cornfield, not really sure. And we're going to put Zook in the woods here. We're just going to try to use our skirmishers to delay the enemy coming down these roads as long as humanly possible. If we can get a lucky hit with their cannon, or if we can get a lucky hit on like an artillery unit or force a cavalry unit to break early, excellent. We also have 2 skirmishers here. So what we'll do with them is we're going to send them to hold the right flank. And delay, we basically just want to delay as much of the enemy's push as possible. So that way we can kind of bring the artillery that's coming online sooner. We're also going to bring Scales' artillery around to the right because of the armored train's direction, so we can put cannon fire on that armored train sooner rather than later. So here comes the first of the enemy. It's Wheeler's brigade. As well as Hatch's skirmishers. And then here comes the enemy on the right road, led by Grant, ironically enough, as well as Scales, also kind of hilarious, Ellis, and Edwards' artillery battery. Hatch has forced Zook's skirmishers to fall back completely, so we're going to just go ahead and we're just going to set them right here. Loomis is trying to separate, or Wheeler's trying to separate these brigades. They didn't spot our cavalry, which is good because they're gonna, I think, ideally they'll abandon the artillery and then we'll be able to just destroy it. This whole battle seems to be led by a MacArthur. So, not named, there's no historical MacArthur that I know of in terms of relation to General Douglas MacArthur. His father, Arthur MacArthur, I think it's Arthur MacArthur Jr., fought for the Union, was known as the Boy Colonel, won a Medal of Honor. So yeah, kind of an interesting choice to have this be led by a MacArthur. A Patton might have made a little bit more sense, considering George S. Patton had 2 family members, I think both were uncles of his that fought. I think both uncles fought for the Confederacy. So here comes our reinforcements. So these are led by Major Milroy, who is from Indiana. This is accurate to the Battle of Philippi, as well as 2 others. I can't see who they are. Colquitt, and there's one more Brigade of Infantry, Bruce. So things didn't go quite the way I wanted to here. I should have put my skirmishers farther down the left-hand side of our right flank, but it is what it is. They did leave their artillery wide open, so we're going to just go ahead and destroy that artillery so it can't harass our defensive line. I'm going to bring Stockton, we're going to have Stockton kind of hit these guys in their right, or in their backside. We're also going to have Hayes. I wonder if that's Rutherford B. Hayes. I don't think it is. I don't remember him being in charge of an artillery unit, but it could be Rutherford, future President Rutherford B. Hayes. So they're going to hit us with about 1,000 men on our right flank. We're going to have to pull Walton back to off his fortifications, which is fine because we've kind of got their other brigades pinned. Because we want to put fire down, we want to keep them off the right flank as much as possible. Yeah, their artillery's toast. I'm gonna go ahead and double click. Gonna pause it here so I can do this. Gonna go ahead and with the reason why I'm manually moving these guys on the map rather than just pointing and clicking is because infantry get a movement bonus marching on road. So it's absolutely vital that we get these guys up to the front as quickly as possible. So we have to keep them on the road. So we're gonna double click them. We'll put Hayes, and if we can get the other artillery battery, come on, Colquitt, or Schultz, is it Schultz's battery? Yeah, Schultz. Get him right about here. Artillery's just slow, so there's nothing we can really do. They're equipped with 6-pounder, with a 6-pound field gun and a 6-pound field gun. The game says it's heavy artillery, but 6-pound field gun is not heavy artillery. It'll do damage to a train, don't get me wrong, but it's not heavy artillery. Speaking of the train, and it shall appear. Loomis is wounded, that's not good. We're gonna need to fall back a little bit. Surprisingly, Walton held firm, although he is, Woods is wounded, Walton is wounded. Ah, darn it. I thought Hayes was supposed to move. I don't know why he didn't. Okay. That's rough. But things are still going well. Loomis is kind of getting shot to pieces, though. I will say this, the opening battle for both the Confederacy and the Union is a little bit more difficult than maybe you would expect for a tutorial battle. Which definitely, especially the Confederate one, is very difficult. This one is a little bit easier because you're on the defensive rather than the offensive the whole time, but again, not exactly the easiest battle to win. Yay, the Confederate train is withdrawing. That's good. That'll pretty much tip the scales 100% into our favor. I really, really wish there was a better way to pull infantry out of a melee in this game, but especially in a situation like that, Colquitt just absolutely took a pounding there for no reason. Just nothing we could do. But the important thing is Philippi is now secured, and we're going to go ahead and move Milroy and Bruce up. Probably going to pull Loomis off the line because we want to... I think... I know we'll get a couple of these brigades at the start as our principal army. I just don't remember which brigades become ours, but I think Loomis and Walton are two of them. Okay, so now they're just gonna kind of pound us in the center. Ah, crud, I think Colquitt's stuck. Don't think it's gonna actually matter in the long run, though, because our artillery is just gonna beat the snot out of them now. Yeah, Colquitt's stuck. I don't remember pathfinding being that big of an issue in this game, but it might be. It might be bigger than I thought. This is really getting on my nerves now because Colquitt's just getting shot to pieces, and there's nothing I can do. I can't free him up. And he just keeps taking, like, if that cavalry goes into melee, they might surrender. Yeah, this is gonna probably be the Confederacy's last-ditch attack on the position. Milroy is killed. Well, there's a little bit of alt history for you. Being a brigade commander, not as safe, even at the rank of general, not as safe as you would expect in a modern time. You know, generals tend to be a little bit more farther behind the line, in safer positions. But in the Civil War, brigadier generals were often on horseback, on foot, with their brigade on the front line. So there was a much higher risk of them being killed. Division commanders too. Really, it wasn't. It really wasn't. It was basically corps commanders and army generals that were a little bit farther behind the line and thus in a safer position. But your division commanders, your brigadier commanders, all on down, much higher risk of officers getting killed. That's why you also see a lot of officers later in the war, like Grant. They actually will forego the fancier officer's uniform in favor of just simply sewing on their rank stripes to a private's jacket. So that way there's less of a risk of them being killed in a battle. Because, killing a general would be very good for, whichever side's trying to kill the other guy's general. Because then you lose that experience, that rank. There's confusion for a while as a new chain of command is established. Colquitt finally got his butt in gear, but it really doesn't matter. The brigade is toast. Zook isn't faring a whole lot better because he's fighting 2-1. We're going to refuse the flank. So basically what the refusing a flank really applies more at the regimental level, although you can also apply it to a brigade and division level. But basically what it is that you're going to basically form a new flank. So imagine it, you've got a line and then you bend the line to an angle. That's refusing the flank. Basically you're going to create a new flank you're going to extend the flank farther down and force them to move the long way around to try to outflank you. 18th century, 19th century, really all military conflicts, the flank is probably the most important position on the battlefield, because you don't want men hitting your left, your right, where you've got nothing to defend, and then just kind of bulldozing over your flank. But in the Civil War, it's especially prominent. Frontal assaults very rarely work. You'll find a lot of generals will maneuver in an attempt to hit the enemy in a flank, where they can kind of roll up the whole line from there, as it were. That was Lee's intention at Gettysburg, to hit the Union left and right, to demonstrate on the left at Culp's Hill, to hit the right flank at, or I guess, from his perspective, it would be the right and the left, but from the Union perspective, it would be the left at Little Round Top, and the Union right at Culp's Hill. Unfortunately, unfortunately for him, it didn't work. I'm gonna direct all of our artillery to fire on Parrott's brigade here, and try to just bust that up. And there they go. This battle should end here any minute now. Yep. We could try to finish the fight. We'll get a little bit of extra weapons, but this early, I don't think routing any more units is worth it. So we're gonna go ahead and finish here. So casualties, we were outnumbered by about 1,300 men. So the intelligence, as what happens in war, is wrong. About equal numbers of cavalry. We had more cannon. We lost one gun and one crew, or a little bit of artillery crew, 2,000 infantry, and 162 cavalry, versus 3,000 infantry, 4 cannon, 87 cavalry, and prisoners that we captured. So hooray for us. One officer promoted in Zook to lieutenant colonel, good for him. 3 officers wounded, and Major Milroy killed in action. Somebody did have a model 1855. I wonder if that was. I mean, it's got to be a rebel. So they were even using better guns than we had too, which explains the discrepancy in range a little bit. So now we go into the camp. Hooray! We were awarded a Civil War campaign medal. We got 3 reputation, 1 career point, and we got 606 additional recruits. That's big. So it was Loomis, Walton, and Wood. So we made the right call there to pull Loomis and Walton off the line. Loomis is killed in action. So our division commander is Wagner. We're leading a corps, which isn't really accurate. The corps system doesn't come into use until, I believe it's 1862. Really, before 1862, each detachment, each command was an army. You didn't have the system of army, corps, division, brigade, regiment on down. But for gameplay reasons, they chose to go with this. What we are going to do is we're going to pull from the academy. Don't really like having majors in charge of artillery. We could much better fill that with infantry, put them in infantry roles so they can get more experience. Instead, what we'll do is we'll just go for a cheap captain, put him in charge of this artillery battery, as well as the same with Woods. Then we're going to assign Scales to Walton's brigade. And then we'll probably just assign Major Crocker. Kind of want to save these guys for a little later. And then from a career perspective, let's see here. Army organization could be pretty big. That would give us 2 divisions per corps, 4 brigades per division. Right now we have 4. So I don't really think then going up to the next level adds too much. So I think what instead we'll do is probably dump more into politics. We'll probably try to get politics up quickest, so that way we can take advantage of it later down the line. Anyway. So, the opportunity to purchase various weapons. So, Springfield 1855 is what I'd ideally like to give all of my troops, but right now, the 1855 model is not available in any significant numbers. We could buy more Springfields, or we could buy Lorenzes, which are going to be twice as expensive. We also have some skirmisher weapons, which also work for cavalry, so we'll probably hold on to that. Artillery, there's enough. Yeah, so it looks like they did do what I thought, which is that the 10-pound ordnance is the 3-inch ordnance rifle. The Parrott rifle is its own gun. And then you can also go with the 12-pound Whitworth James rifle, a 24-pound howitzer, which we're definitely not going to use, or a 20-pound Parrott, which is really more of a siege gun. Could also go with the Weird or the 12-pound howitzer, but I'm not going to do that. I'm pretty much going to stick my artillery with either Napoleon's ordnances or Parrott guns. But right now, the most important thing is replenishing our current units. So it's early enough in the game. We could go to a maximum strength of 1500 and lose most of our morale, lose the veterancy bonus, which is endurance. Don't really want to do that. But I think, again, it's early enough in the campaign. I think the cost... I think getting brigades that are fully at full strength now and replenishing them from there is better than having the veterancy bonus early. So we're going to go ahead and get 1,500 men for both of these brigades, bring them up to full strength. For the artillery, I don't know. I don't know if there's a diminishing return. Excuse me. On the number of guns. I mean, obviously, the more artillery we add, the more it's going to cost us to add more men and more guns. Discipline doesn't really do artillery any sort of good. I mean, it gives them a little bit more efficiency. But really, the bigger one for artillery is logistics. And I think there's another one in here that increases their accuracy. And those are more important than discipline for artillery. Let's take a look at... we're also going to add about 10,000 additional supply. Let's look and see what the next battle is. It's a distress call. $2,900 cracked troops apparently to assist. Again, I'm not really sure how accurate any of those numbers are. Like right here, like, yeah, they're getting 8,700 additional recruits as well, so that would give them 12,000 more troops. Okay. It says here the army estimate is about 30,000 men, 35,000 men in this opening campaign, which will culminate with the first Battle Bull Run in July. We have 1,800 men in reserve. I am going to go ahead and add a new gun. How much would it cost? We don't have... We could leave both artillery batteries as they are with 5 guns each and get all 10 pound ordnance guns. All 14, just buy all 14 of them. That would pretty much wipe out our funds before... It won't wipe out our funds before Manassas, but it is going to hurt a little bit. I would almost rather create a new division under Colonel Wood. Add a new infantry brigade under Chetland. Bring it up to full strength. Let's see how... I think we can go ahead and determine how many divisions or corps come into battle here, or am I just going to get thrown into it? No. So I can put 8 brigades in the field. So I think what we'll do then... Because we also start with about 2,000 men and 5 brigades. So we're going to get quite a bit of extra troops here. What we'll do is yeah, so there it goes. That's what I thought. 4 brigades seemed... 4 brigades was a little high, I thought, at the start. We don't have the manpower to bring in an additional brigade. So we're going to go ahead and go with the 3 brigades that we've got of infantry in 2 divisions with artillery on each. Whoops. Didn't mean to bump my microphone there. Had to scratch my nose. Sorry about that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do this battle, and then we will probably call it for the day. So let's go ahead and... Well, no, yeah, we'll go ahead and do this one, and then we'll call it for the day. Wanted to see how much time was left. So go ahead and do the distress call. It's not, as far as I am aware, it's not using any historic background to it. It just takes place near Manassas, the Manassas Railroad junction. Oh, okay, I remember this one. This one's a little tricky as well. Both of these opening battles, especially for the Union, are a lot trickier than I think for if you're a new player, then I think you realize. But so basically what we want to do here is we're going to get hit from 3 directions. We're going to get hit across this river, down this road, and in this woods here. What we'll do is we'll put our brigade, I think, will be a little bigger. We're going to bring these guys out of the forts, deploy skirmishers, as always. Skirmisher, if you're new to this game, skirmish, skirmish, skirmish. You want to have skirmishers out at all times because they're so vital to delaying your opponent. We'll send... Actually, I think we'll send both of our brigades up to this area. We'll send, who is that, Woods? We'll send Woods' brigade down into, well, the woods, across the river with skirmishers, as well as Richards we'll put a skirmishing unit up here. And we're basically just going to try to kind of butt them into the wall, butt them up against the edge of the map here until our reinforcements come in a little later. So give me a second here to take a drink. Okay, so much better. And our cavalry will probably hide in the woods, try to catch their artillery off base. So, gonna go ahead and yeah, it wants us to defend in the fort. I don't really think that's a good use of the men. The woods is going to be much better for that. So we're going to deploy them into skirmishers. Detach skirmishers here as well. We'll send Crocker skirmishers down the road, as well as Woods' skirmishers. We'll put Woods' brigade up here. Edwin will put his cavalry up in these woods here. And we're just going to try to defend the periphery. And we'll put those skirmishers in the back line. Or farther into that tree line. So basically, ideally the rebels will hit that bridge and they'll get stacked up on it. And we'll just mow them down. Yep, so here comes Lowe's brigade. Surprise, surprise. There'll be more where that came from. Yep. Daniel's brigade. It's interesting in the Civil War how you kind of have this... You have each of your infantry units... Your regiments are numbered, right? So you've got like the 1st Indiana, the 19th Indiana, the 24th Michigan. But then when you get to the brigade level, it's not... They're normally named for the officer commanding them. So, you know, I mean, you also have 1st Brigade, 2nd Brigade, 3rd Brigade, but they're more commonly referred to as B's Brigade or Armstrong's Brigade or Chamberlain's Brigade rather than the 1st Brigade, the 3rd Brigade, the 2nd Brigade. And I don't know why that is in the historiography. Maybe it's just because there were so many brigades and they were kind of mashed in. Oops. We just walked right past, who is that, Walker's Brigade? Gonna go ahead and bring these skirmishers down. But yeah, I don't really know why the brigades weren't numbered or aren't commonly numbered in Civil War historiography. Again, maybe it's just easier to refer to them by the general commanding them because that's something that we just more easily can track. I don't know. Even more rebels sighted with artillery. So here comes Johnston. This should be Joseph E. Johnston. West Point grad. I believe he was the Army's quartermaster general at the start of the Civil War, resigned his commission from the Federal Army to then join Virginia. He and Jeff Davis did not get along at all. Evans' brigade is going to... Yeah, see, this is exactly what we wanted. They're just stacked up on this bridge now, and now they've got to try to root us out. I do wish we could turn off skirmishing, because ideally I would just like to keep these guys on this tree line here and just stand and fight, but it is what it is. We're going to pull Richard's skirmishers back, and we're going to bring Crocker's brigade up. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. We're also going to put Scales up in front and swing these skirmishers onto the flank. Ooh, B is moving up. That's infantry. I figured B... I didn't think B was going to cross the river with infantry. That's unfortunate. Yep, skirmishers doing exactly what I want them to do. It's a little bit of sacrifice. It's a little bit of chaff, sacrificial lambs here, but the idea, again, it's delay, delay, delay. We want to run that timer down. We want to keep them from getting into the forts. We want to be able to bring up our artillery. That's the crucial piece. If we need to fall back, we can. We're in a good position to do so. See, we've got these guys caught at an angle now, so now they're going to eat fire from both directions. This is blunted. They're not going anywhere now. So the big focus is now in this wood line. Richards is wounded. Okay. That's what I want. I want to catch the... that's good. Getting this artillery, if we can smash that up. Yep, so our skirmishers got forced out. That's fine. We'll just bring them back up around this wood line here. Woods will, no pun intended, Woods will hold his position and just kind of eat these guys as they come up the road. Yeah, these brigades aren't even taking casualties, and we're just pouring it in. We are going to go ahead with Scales skirmishers retreating and Richard's skirmishers retreating. We're going to go ahead and fall back here a little bit. Shore up the line. Might try to catch that artillery since it's kind of being left alone. Now is the time to go ahead and get into that fort. These brigades will rout at some point here. Yeah. There goes Branson, I think is what I saw there. Here comes our reinforcements. In the nick of time. Now counterattack, so our orders go. Well, probably won't counterattack, but we are going to just continue to shoot them up. So Cheaton's brigade's going to move up. Shaver's artillery. I might number the artillery, actually, just for my own keeping track of everything. And I might name the brigades, number the brigades as well. The way I plan to play this is I'm going to use an average historical order of battle. So for the Union, it'll probably be 1 division is 4 brigades of infantry, maybe 3. artillery is going to be is going to be distributed amongst the divisions early on in the war, and then we'll kind of bring it into the core as we get to those later reforms that you would see historically. Units that are commanded by officers that are commanding units that would have commanded famous units. So, for example, the Excelsior Brigade, the Gibraltar Brigade, the Iron Brigade. You know, if their officers are commanding those brigades, we will name them those. We'll give them the historic brigade name. Just to add a little bit of spice and roleplay. I do not like that. Cheatin', if you would please hurry up, my dear. Any time now would be good. I don't really want to have to pull men off the line to reinforce Richards, but I think we're going to have to fall back and reinforce Richards because he is not going to be able to hold that position. Yeah, this is where casualties are going to mount a little bit. Ransom, you idiot. Just absolutely get mauled there. These guys aren't going anywhere. Woods is actually doing very well holding his position. Ooh, the Confederates have left their supply wagon sitting out there. We'll gladly capture that. That's free money. Law just running his flank right into us, just dying. Thanks. I'm a little surprised B hasn't routed. We should be hitting him in both flanks. Yep. Okay, cool. We captured the Confederate supplies. We'll just run those back to our side of the map. Yep, there goes B. Now he's gonna melee charge into Cheaton. Okay. Thanks for the free route. Branson might just get his whole brigade surrendered here. Yeah, there they go. Just completely breaking. We're gonna go ahead and send Richards to help Woods. We've taken about 10% casualties. That's decent. I can live with 10% casualties. I think most of those casualties aren't even ours, just looking at the numbers in the brigades. Give me back my garrison, my supply base. Yep, this will wrap up here pretty quickly now. Probably go ahead and double speed it. This is 1. Yeah, see here, the AI isn't even... If the AI was a little bit smarter, they would have Burlow's brigade move to the left or right and try to catch Woods in the flank, but it's not. Woods is probably going to break here, just purely because of the amount of casualties he's taken relative to the men he started with. But it doesn't matter. Our brigades are doing exactly what they needed to do. I'm surprised Ransom didn't shatter already, but you know, it is what it is. We're actually going to stop resupplying the artillery. Artillery is such an ammo suck in this game, which is, again, historically accurate. You have a much less artillery to... Artillery rounds are heavy. Ooh. Crocker broke. What happened there? Okay. Well, again, doesn't really matter. I'd like to catch... Yeah, I'd like to get that artillery unit if I can and just capture some more guns to sell, if nothing else. I mean, we might as well use the rebels as money printers. Woods is wounded. Not too surprising. I'm surprised he has men left to get wounded. Yeah, his whole unit's breaking. Edwin got the artillery to rout. Excellent. B's brigade is destroyed. Ooh. That was cheeky. I don't appreciate that at all. We're just going to go ahead and finish this fight up. So, again, even numbers, but the casualties, they took way more. They're the attacking side. The attacking side's always going to take more casualties. Total victory here, held both supply depots. Wade Richards was wounded. Wade Scales was promoted. Good for him. And we managed to get a few more. We rescued some 1842 weapons, as well as capturing a 6-pounder and saving one. Capturing supplies as well. A Cookin brother. I think that's just like... Yeah, it's just an old cavalry musket. We're just going to sell those for money. We got an additional 115 recruits for capturing that supply wagon. Yay, more money. Always good. Career. I'm going to just go ahead and add more to the politics. That's what you should do. We'll sell these reborn farmers. probably go ahead and sell these 3-pound field guns as well. Nah, maybe I shouldn't have sold 3-pound field guns in hindsight. Okay, whatever. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just fully replenish our brigades here. Yep. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and call it there for the time being. Next up will be Bull Run. So if you guys enjoyed this, please let me know. Remember to like and give Freedom a ring and hit that subscribe button. And stay tuned for more history and focus gaming content, as well as the second video on the German Unification series. I will see you guys later. If you enjoyed this week's video, please consider subscribing for future videos. Let us know what you thought in the comments below and what you would like us to cover next.